The rain hammered against the tin roof of Forrest's cabin like 1,000 impatient fingers. He was halfway through his third cup of coffee when the knock came. 3 deliberate strikes that somehow cut through the storm's fury. Forrest set down his mug and walked to the door without hesitation. Living alone on the edge of the Terran colonial frontier taught you that visitors in the night were either desperate or dangerous, and either way, you answered. What stood on his porch defied every expectation. The creature was massive, easily 8 feet tall, with scales that shimmered between obsidian and deep crimson even in the dim porch light. Its eyes, ancient, golden, and utterly exhausted, fixed on Forrest with an intensity that should have sent him running. Wings, tattered and scarred, hung from its back like torn banners. This was no mere alien. This was something from myth. "I seek sanctuary," the dragon said, its voice a rumble of distant thunder. "Though I have no right to ask." Forrest studied the creature for exactly 3 seconds. Then he stepped aside. "You're letting the rain in. Come on." The dragon's eyes widened, the first crack in its imperial composure. "You would allow me entry?" "Just like that." "Floor's getting wet," Forrest said flatly. "In or out?" The dragon folded its wings tight and ducked through the doorway, moving with a grace that belied its size. Once inside, it seemed to diminish somehow, not in stature but in presence, as if it were trying to make itself smaller, less threatening. Forrest closed the door and returned to his coffee maker. "Want some?" "Fair warning, it's terrible coffee, but it's hot." "I am Carvaxis," the dragon began, straightening slightly. "Once High King of the Draconian Imperium, Flame of the 17 Suns, he who—" "Forrest," the human interrupted, pouring a second mug. "And unless those titles come with sugar and cream, they don't help with the coffee situation." Carvaxis fell silent, staring at this strange human who treated a dethroned god-king like an inconvenient house guest. "You do not fear me. Should I?" Forrest handed him the oversized mug he usually used for soup. "My kind has conquered 600 worlds. We ruled the Andromeda Spiral for 10,000 years. We are apex predators, weapons of living fire." Carvaxis's voice carried the weight of ages. 3 days ago, I was betrayed by my own council. They stripped me of my throne, my honor, my fleet. I am hunted across a dozen systems." "Sounds rough." Forrest sat down at his small kitchen table. "But that doesn't answer my question. Should I fear you? Right now, in my kitchen?" The dragon looked down at the steaming mug in his clawed hands. "No," he admitted quietly. "I suppose you should not." "Then sit down. You're too tall, and you're making the place look small." Carvaxis sat, the chair creaking under his weight. He sipped the coffee and made a face that somehow transcended species. "This is truly awful." "Told you." Forrest smiled slightly. "So what's your plan?" "Plan?" The dragon's laugh was bitter. "I have no plan. I am deposed. Hunted. I sought this planet because I heard humans would shelter anyone. I thought it a weakness I could exploit." He stared into the black coffee. "I was wrong. It is not weakness at all, is it?" Before Forrest could answer, headlights swept across the windows. Multiple vehicles. The rumble of engines cut through the rain. "They've found me," Carvaxis said, rising. "I should not have come here. I have brought death to your door." Forrest stood, walked to the window, and peered out. 6 armored vehicles, probably draconian hunter-killers. Professional. Armed. "Those your people?" "My former people. Assassins from the new regime." Carvaxis moved toward the door. "I will lead them away. Sit down." The dragon stopped. "What?" "I said sit down." Forrest was already pulling on his jacket. "And don't drink all the coffee." "You cannot." But Forrest was already opening the door and stepping onto the porch. Rain soaked him instantly. The lead vehicle's door opened, and a smaller dragon in tactical armor emerged, plasma rifle raised. "Human," the assassin hissed. "Surrender the traitor king, and you may live." Forrest crossed his arms. "No." The assassin's eyes narrowed. "You do not understand what he is. What he has done. Don't need to. He knocked on my door. That makes him a guest." Forrest's voice was calm, but it carried. "And I don't hand over guests. Then you will die with him." "Maybe." Forrest didn't move. "But not before I send a distress signal. This is Terran colonial space. You fire one shot, and you'll have a human naval destroyer here in 20 minutes. And trust me, they take sovereignty violations real personal." The assassin hesitated. In the galaxy's balance of power, Humanity was the newcomer, but they were also the crazy ones. The ones who'd gone to war over a single mining station. The ones whose battle doctrine was summarized as acceptable losses and who treated war crimes like a checklist of suggestions. He is a king without a kingdom. The assassin tried again. He is nothing. He is nothing. Then why waste your time? Forrest asked. Go home. Tell whoever sent you that Carvaxis died in the rain, forgotten and alone. That'll be true enough, from a certain point of view. The standoff stretched. Rain poured. Finally, the assassin lowered his rifle. You are a fool. Human. Yeah, probably. Forrest shrugged. But I sleep fine. The vehicles rumbled back into the night, their lights fading into the storm. Forrest stood on the porch for a full minute before returning inside, dripping water across his floor. Carvaxis sat exactly where Forrest had left him, staring at nothing. Why? The dragon finally asked. Why risk yourself for me? Forrest grabbed a towel and dried his face. Because you knocked. Because it was raining. Because. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Because I've read enough history to know that kings fall all the time. But how we treat them after, that says something about us. I was not a kind king, Carvaxis said softly. I burned worlds. Past tense, Forrest noted. What you do now, that's what matters. The dragon's ancient eyes glistened. And what would you have me do? Forrest refilled both their mugs. First, finish this terrible coffee. Then, I don't know, maybe help me fix the porch that's been broken for months. After that, he shrugged. We'll figure it out. Carvaxis looked at the human, this strange, impossible human who treated fallen gods like stray cats and sovereignty like a suggestion. And for the first time in 3 days, the Dragon King smiled. Your coffee is still terrible. Yeah, Forrest agreed. But it's honest. Outside, the rain continued to fall. Inside, a dethroned king and a human sat at a small table, drinking bad coffee and talking about porch repairs. In the grand scheme of the galaxy, it was nothing, but it was also everything. And somewhere in the Terran colonial fleet, a young officer named Winnie reviewed the incident report from the frontier, a minor sovereignty dispute, resolved without bloodshed. She flagged it for cultural study. Humans, she noted in her log, had a peculiar habit of treating the extraordinary as ordinary. That IT was, she decided, their strangest strength.